Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this Thursday, January 21st, 2021. I'm David Menzies, and as always, every Tuesday and Thursday, I am joined by my lovely colleague somewhere in the hinterland of northern Alberta. It is Sheila, the she-devil, Gunn-Reid. How you doing today, Sheila?
I'm doing great. Look at your illegal haircut. It looks fantastic.
No. Wait a minute. It's not a haircut. It's an addition. I went to St. Catharines to the Chrome Barber Place, and Alicia, the owner, she's given me an addition. Our video will be up soon about that. She's reimagined her barber shop as a film production studio. And as everybody knows, Sheila, when you go into a film production studio, you have to put together a portfolio, and part of, you want to look good, for your audition. And, here I had to get a haircut, and it's completely kosher according to the City of St. Catharines bylaw. But you know what? There's various layers of bylaw, Sheila, and the Niagara region bylaw evidently has a problem. So we'll see how that turns out, if this is going to be a legal loophole in which Alicia can operate, or if she's going to be our latest fight the fines candidate. So be very careful in your verbiage, Sheila. It's not a haircut, it's an addition. And I think I passed my audition.
Yeah, I just watched the final version of that video before we came on air, and I really like those ladies. And everybody who's watching right now, stay tuned. David's got a really great video coming out about some very crafty ladies who did not look for a dirty loophole in the law. They just read the law and then followed it to the letter. And I think they're great. Now, Alicia, I really like her. She's scrappy. She's got great hair. Of course, she's a hairdresser, but just a smart, cagey lady. I really like her. So
I love her and her assistant, Carla. She's wonderful. And better yet, Sheila, because we'll have another video. Her idea is spreading another salon in St. Catharines, the Evolution Salon and Spa, is also, can you believe it, folks? It's not a spa and a salon anymore. It's a film production studio.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm looking, I can finally see Skype, by the way, out of the corner of my eye, because normally my Skype feed either freezes up or I just don't see it at all. Technical difficulties. And it looks like Justin has me framed strangely so that I look a lot bigger than David Menzies. I look like an Amazon. I'm not a big woman. There we go. Thank you, Justin. Thank you. I looked abnormally large, and I'm not.
Well, we know how strong you are. I keep referring to that picture of you with Kian in a headlock. And so
I was going to give that kid a DDT, but, Alex, I might have intervened.
I'm pretty sure you could pick me up in a fireman's carry for some reason,
Anyway, should we tell people what we're doing here today?
Absolutely.
We're 3 minutes into the show, and we are completely just got this thing right in the ditch. So this is the daily Rebel News live stream. It used to just be on Friday, hosted by Ezra Levant. However, in the before times, as Ezra likes to call it, sometimes we would travel, and Ezra would travel, and he was sort of globe-trotting, spending a lot of time overseas in the UK on stories. But the pandemic grounded everybody. And there was more news than ever. Things were changing, regulations were being brought in the morning, and we wanted to talk about them in the afternoon. And so one of the best ways to address news as it's happening and as things are changing so fast was to do a live stream every single day. And we thought we would fill a gap since the mainstream media sort of scaled back their news coverage, again, during the pandemic. A thing that's newsworthy all over the world, and things are changing so fast, and they're like, you know what, there's nothing to talk about. And CBC, they killed their local news coverage during the pandemic. Now, they took all the money that they were given for local news coverage, but they just weren't going to do it because that's how they are. But we decided every single day of the week, weekdays, for an hour, 10 o'clock here in Alberta and noon out there in Toronto, we would get together and we would talk about the news. So David and I host Tuesdays and Thursdays. Ezra hosts Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which I think is an absolute feat because he also hosts a daily show and he runs Canada's largest independent news network. So the fact that Ezra can do like 3 live streams a week, full hours, and oftentimes he goes over, I mean, that's phenomenal. But again, he likes to talk as I'm continuing to talk and go on and on and on. But what this allows our viewers at home to do is interact with each other, which is something you can't do on the mainstream media because, again, they want your money. They don't want to hear from you and they don't want your comments. Most comment sections are closed. We don't have that. We want your feedback. We want your comments. So the live chat is always open. People are interacting there. There's a lot of regulars there. But you can also do something that the mainstream media doesn't allow you to do. And that's make the choice to support the news network of your choosing through something called a super chat. We hope that you would like to support the work that we do completely willingly out of the goodness of your heart or because you want to keep us fighting for freedom. You can do that through something called a super chat. Click the little $sign at the bottom of the live chat. You can throw some money in there. More money you give, the more characters you get. You can ask us a question. You can leave a comment. Maybe there's a topic or a story idea that you want to put on our radar. A compliment, an insult, whatever. It's your show if you make a super chat, and David and I will do our best to address it live on air.
100%. And Sheila, I want to address something you said earlier about how mainstream media was scaling back their coverage because they didn't want to catch cooties, I guess, all the while getting more government funding. So your tax dollars hard at work, folks. More money for less service. And I want to just say how lazy journalism has been in this day and age of the pandemic, especially when the narrative is not in agreement with the media mob. I think they've gone beyond party. It's now an outright mob. And I say this, Sheila, because last Saturday, when the anti-lockdown protesters marched off of Yonge Dundas Square, and one of their eventual stops was outside the Bell Media Studios at Queen and John Streets, which is home to CP24, CTV News, News Talk 1010, CFRB. Right on their doorstep and chanting, I loved it, tell the truth, tell the truth. And you think one journalist in this beehive of journalists, one of them would peek their head out of the door, like, I don't know, Wyerton Willie, and see what was up, maybe take a snap even off their cell phone. No, it's like it didn't exist. And this was a significant day, I think, in Toronto's history, Sheila, where as the hours went on and the protesters went back to Yonge Dundas Square, how the police turned on a peaceful protest. And I mean a peaceful protest. Nobody was down there wearing trouble on their shirt. And they were getting picked off one by one. Maybe they didn't like it if you had a loudspeaker. Maybe they didn't like it if you had a sign. And they were arresting you and fining you. And somehow the media here in Toronto thought this was a non-event, this was a non-story. How disgraceful is that? It's almost as though if we didn't chronicle this, Sheila, nobody would have known about it.
Well, I think for the mainstream media, the best way to approve of the police actions that way was to not shine the disinfectant of sunlight on the police actions that day. Because we know the mainstream media, it's got to be the same in Toronto, but particularly here in Alberta, they are the locker downer cheerleaders. Yeah. You know, when you tune into these press conferences, the mainstream media don't ask questions like, when are you going to open up the restaurants? When are you going to open up the gyms? It's, why aren't you extending the lockdowns? Why did you let the hairdressers go back to work? Don't you think that's irresponsible? Those are the questions you get. They are locker downer cheerleaders, and capturing images of what the police were doing that day on behalf of the city of Toronto and the province of Ontario, capturing images and showing them to the world will turn people away from the lockdown. even the most reasonable people can see that you should not be arresting peaceful protesters, but that's what happened. And so if you are in favor of the lockdown, as I think the majority of the mainstream media is, you can't be there. You cannot be showing people what is exactly happening.
It's so shameful, Sheila. And if you or I could ever get into one of these scrums, because the elected officials, they don't like impolite questions, shall we say. I think if I had a chance for one question, it would simply be this. Why was it that genuinely peaceful protesters exercising their constitutional right to assemble and embrace freedom of speech and freedom of expression were brutally shut down, whereas just in the summertime, you had Black Lives Matter protesters in even greater numbers, in which the police did not arrest these protesters, but actually took a knee in solidarity with them. Kindly explain the difference. I mean, I don't know. Sheila, I'm not a virologist. Maybe the Wuhan virus, it's so super smart. It understands the importance of racial injustice protests, but it really hates you if you're an anti-lockdown protester. So it'll infect you, whereas it'll avoid the BLM people. Is that it? I mean, hey, I'm all ears, Sheila.
Yeah, it also will murder you if you go into a mom and pop store, but if you go to Walmart, it's fine. It also, it comes out and prowls the street for people to kill at 8:01 p.m. in Quebec, but doesn't do the same thing in Alberta. I mean, this is the dumbest thing ever. You can like draw a line on how this law is being politically applied. I'll give everybody a sneak preview, Coles Notes version of a Fight the Fines case that I'm working on.
Oh, is this the one in Saskatchewan?
No, that's another horrible one that we'll get to next week. I mean, just absolutely atrocious. I'm so sick of seeing police kick people when they're down.
I think it might be the worst one, but we'll save that. We'll keep the powder dry on that one.
I think this story is probably coming out this afternoon that I'm talking about. So I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. But we've seen through Tamara Ugolini's reporting how police and bylaw enforcement are using laws not designed to deal with COVID to just get the anti-mask people out of the way, or not even anti-mask people for that matter, people who are medically exempt from wearing a mask. By law and law enforcement, security guards, they're using trespass to get rid of inconvenient people. We saw them do it to you at Nathan Phillips Square. That's the new thing. That's the catch-all, right? Well, police are getting even more creative than that. The case I'm working on, this young man was demonstrating against a lockdown in Montreal. No big deal. Montreal had a huge Black Lives Matter protest during the summer where they used mega horns and amplifiers to protest. You make noise. That's what you do. No tickets were handed out for that sort of thing, but he was demonstrating against the lockdown. He was using a little amp for people to hear him. They wanted so much to bust up his little protest that they used a noise bylaw that is designed to deal with traveling musicians and gave him a ticket for that. Because they're starting to realize.
What do they have against traveling musicians? What's wrong with bringing a little music into the world?
I had no idea they outlawed the minstrel in Quebec, but apparently they did. But yeah, like we're seeing police get really creative because it's starting to look pretty bad on them arresting all these peaceful protesters. So now they're finding little applications of the law and using the law in a way that it was not designed to do, to shut down peaceful protests. And so now we're seeing that. It's crazy. You know,
it's amazing too, Sheila, because I guess not so much in the wintertime, but in the summer when we finally get some nice warm weather in, Canada, one of the negatives, in addition to insects, like black flies and mosquitoes popping up, it's these young'uns in their Honda Civics with about $7,000 of stereo equipment in the back. doing that boom, 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 like it can wake the dead, their music. And I never see them being pulled over by police and being ticketed. But this guy with the little amp, this guy is the real, disturber in the streets of Quebec. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah. And again, Black Lives Matter walked through the streets of Montreal during the height of the pandemic, they'll have us believe, with bullhorns and amps protesting, and that was perfectly fine. But this guy and like two of his friends, that was problematic in Montreal.
Wow. By the way, you know what I do when I hear those kids with the loud stereos? I always do this, Sheila. I go, ice cream, right? And occasionally, not always, they will pull over and they'll say, what did you say? And I go, I pretend I'm dumb. I go, oh, I thought you were like an ice cream truck trying to advertise selling, your wares. And I have to admit, they look at me as though I'm mentally ill so I don't get beaten up and they drive off. But that's my way of getting a little revenge.
I just crank up my Merle Haggard and compete with them. It's like dueling banjos. No. It's fine. We have some things that we do need to talk about, though, because we're 15 minutes in and we haven't really, I mean, we're talking about stuff, but not anything on the list. And the one thing on the list that we wanted to talk about was how easily the Biden administration is folding to public pressure, but also how they've already tried to pick a fight with the Israeli government. And, it's just insane. Maybe Justin can bring up a visual of what exactly happened here. Perfect. Thank you. The American government, the new Biden administration, if you look at the name of that there, it says USA Ambassador Israel. That's sort of like the short Twitter handle. But once Biden took office, they changed it from the United States Ambassador to Israel to the United States Ambassador to Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. And this is an immediate incitement of tensions with the Israeli government. For example, Gaza is not Israeli territory. The Israelis haven't been there in years. They pulled out. There's not an Israeli citizen in Gaza. Gaza is run by a terrorist entity known as Hamas. Yeah. And they've turned it themselves into a prison territory. They took what used to be lush greenhouses, a booming economy, a resort community. Because if you look where Gaza is, it's right on the water. It's beautiful. But it's a prison camp now. And that's because of the leadership of Hamas. And it's an adversarial state, I guess, territory to Israel. And yet, one of Biden's first moves as president was to eliminate what was the Israeli ambassadorship and turn it into this catch-all of all the territories in and around the region there.
Sheila, I'm surprised they didn't add in Antarctica. I mean, it's just as valid as recognizing those other territories, too.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So we know that Donald Trump has been the most pro-Israel president, I would suggest, of all time. They are building a neighborhood in the Golan Heights. I think it's called Trump Heights. Because he recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan. Trump moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to its rightful place in the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. So far, it sounds like Biden's not going to move it back, which is great. But immediately, Biden sought to undo all the good work that Trump did in Israel, but also in the region, because of Trump's alignment with Israel, we're seeing peace accords pop up all over the place. We saw peace break out in the Middle East. Who ever thought that they would see that? And immediately, Biden sought to undo it.
It is astonishing, Sheila, because the Abraham peace accords are so significant that I think if that was any other president other than the one with the surname Trump, they would be getting the Nobel Peace Prize for that.
Yep.
And instead, the world shrugs its shoulders. And that's very significant. And you're right. Biden can't wait to throw kerosene on a region that is healing itself. Thanks to Trump's measures, not just the peace accords. Let's not forget, did Trump bring the USA in the last 4 years into any new war? No. He was no hawk. And, I think it's going to worsen because of, Biden has hinted that the Iran deal under the Obama administration, which Trump reversed, that might go back into place. It's still a deal for the life of me I don't understand. And so I think this is so shocking that on day one, he's already trying to instigate something. But the silver lining here and a learning lesson for others such as, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, when the Israelis raised their objections, what was it? Within 2 hours, Sheila?
2 hours.
Of this announcement, it was reversed. Keystone XL pipeline gets canceled, and Justin Trudeau is kind of like, well, what you going to do, boss? That's how they roll down at the White House. Where's his fighting spirit? Jason Kenney, he's calling for economic sanctions against the USA for the cancellation of the Keystone XL. But our Prime Minister either can't be bothered or, let me ask you this, Sheila, because you know pipeline politics more than I do. Maybe he kind of agrees with this. In fact, it's convenient that the heavy in the cancellation of the project is the President of the United States as opposed to the man in Ottawa. Is that what's going on here?
I think there's a little bit of that. I think the Israelis, God love them, they're used to dealing with adversarial states.
Yeah.
And every day is a fight for survival where they're at, although less so now, thanks to President Trump. But they said, we're going to throw out your ambassador over this. Yep. And so that's why within 2 hours, the United States government was changing their tunes. Oh, it was a technical glitch. It's a technical glitch. I've seen a lot of technical glitches. But to change the entire title of the Twitter account for the ambassador, that's a bit much of a technical glitch. That's a bridge too far as explanations go. And I was reading through the Breitbart's assessment of what was going on, and they said that it could signal a real policy change from Biden in that it looks like the new administration will recognize each of these three places as equally sovereign. And that would mean that they don't recognize Israel's claim to the West Bank at all. And that they have Gaza run by terrorists on the same plane of existence as democratic, human rights defending Israel. And I think that's gross. But yeah, the moral of the story here is all Canada had to do was threaten to throw out an ambassador over a pipeline cancellation, and we probably could get that thing back on the table, because I don't think Biden actually knows that it's across the border already. Like, it's already in the ground. What is he going to do? Rip up the pipe out of the ground? Maybe. Shut it in? I guess. But I do know that he killed at least 1,000 jobs here in Alberta like that, in one town, by the way, in Oyen. 1,000 jobs. I see estimates that 11,000 jobs in total were killed yesterday in Biden's first day in office with the cancellation of that pipeline. And, as far as Justin Trudeau was concerned, Biden was the president-elect since November. So what conversations, if any, have been taking place to defend that pipeline coming out of the PMO? I would suspect absolutely none. Why? Because those jobs are in Alberta and they're not in Quebec. And Justin Trudeau has been willing to break the law for Quebec jobs and to defend corrupt Quebec companies. But when these are 1,000 good, honest paying jobs here in Alberta, he didn't give a damn. Yeah. Why? Because we don't vote Liberal.
And Sheila, for the Biden administration, it's uncanny, isn't it? It was only 24 hours ago and a handful of minutes that he was inaugurated, and it already feels like he's done 4 years worth of damage. This is just day one. I think we're in for a very, very dark period, but Mr. Producer says we do have some super chats we must read.
Justin, I'll get to them in a second, but I have another point to make. And that is, I think there's going to be an escalation of this nonsense.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend Robbie Picard from Oil Sand Strong, who is the most incredible, mostly unpaid advocate when it comes to fighting for oil patch jobs. And I think there's going to be an escalation of environmental wokeism coming from Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden, in that for the last 4-6 years-ish, Justin Trudeau, well, since Obama went away, Justin Trudeau has been the leader of the anti-Trump cabal. He doesn't really have that anymore because Biden is in power. But he's been the wokest leader at the World Economic Forum, at UN meetings. And so Justin Trudeau is going to want to maintain that. He's not going to want to let some geriatric Polydent salesman in cognitive decline steal his thunder. So I think there's going to be a lot of, well, I raised the carbon tax. Well, I canceled this pipeline. Well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's going to be 4, maybe 8 absolute years of hell for the working man on both sides of the border because of that. And we don't have a Conservative Party who is able to pull Justin Trudeau back the other way. At least in the United States, the Republicans will probably serve as that gut check, and they have Republican governors who have jurisdiction over a lot of things. We don't have that here. And so I think it's going to be very, very bad and very, very dark for a very long time when it comes to our resource development here. I
think you're right, Sheila. And, yesterday when Prime Minister Trudeau was handing out his congratulations to the Biden administration, and it was, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was some sentence saying, we look forward to working with you for the following issues. And before he said developing the economy or recovering the economy, as the case may be, quashing the Wuhan virus, all of that, the first thing Trudeau said about looking forward to working with Joe Biden on was climate change. Yeah.
I mean, and Trudeau, he's a vain, obnoxious man, a shallow man. So you think he's going to let Kamala Harris, Green New Deal and Converse sneakers, steal his thunder as the coolest, most woke environmentalist on the world stage?
Oh.
Absolutely not. And it's going to be comeuppance and one-upmanship, and Alberta's just going to be collateral damage in the mix here.
Even Greta Thunberg is emerging from her cocoon.
Yeah, I think she's talking to the Dalai Lama today or something. I saw a news article about that, and I was like, oh, okay, well, didn't that guy take $1 million from Nexium, that sex cult, to talk to them? He'll literally talk to anybody if you give him money. Wow. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So I don't know. I guess he needed another $1 million. Anywho, we should get to these super chats because Justin did tell me to get to them. And his voice was very loud. Pink Phoenix Nails, hi, Catherine, gives us $2. Good morning, Sheila, David. I stand with Sloan. We do have the Stand with Sloan petition. Thank you very much, Catherine, for bringing that up. Last time I checked, I think we were approaching nearly 6,000 signatures on that. And I saw today in the Toronto Sun, which used to be a pretty conservative newspaper, there it is. We're over 6,000. So that's ticked up a little bit since we even went on air. And Ezra did a really great interview with Derek Sloan.
Yes.
His kids even popped in a little bit, and I thought that was kind of nice. Live on air with Derek Sloan. I think we were his first interview after he was booted from caucus. And I saw, as I was saying, a really bizarre article in the Toronto Sun defending what happened yesterday, saying, well, they kicked him out, but they did it for a whole bunch of other reasons, and it's because he's prickly and he doesn't work well with others and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. That's not the people who elected him's problem. If you can't get along with him, figure it out or don't get along with him. But that's not what the people in his riding voted for. They voted for Derek Sloan of the Conservative Party of Canada. And his personality is not a reason to boot him out of that party. And secondarily, why then are the Conservatives doing this dishonest thing of saying, oh, Press Progress gave us the reason to boot him out because he took this donation that he could not possibly have known about from this white supremacist that the party also took a cut from, and that the party also let him join the party and be a voting member. They use that as an excuse to air the grievances to get him out. Talk about dishonest. Talk about gross. I can't even imagine a Conservative defending that, and the Conservative newspaper in Toronto defending that. But that was what I read today. And I thought, how grotesque. And it leads me to believe that the knowledge of that donation was probably, because I think Press Progress is kind of lazy. I don't think they found it on their own. I think it was probably leaked to them by the party as a reason to get rid of him. I was suspicious of that before because I thought, you can actually find this stuff online. You could probably put two and two together. But I don't think Press Progress is that smart, frankly. And now that they've used it as justification for all these other grievances to get rid of them, I think the catalyst came from the party to Press Progress and not the other way around.
No, 100%. And, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, Sheila? On our Stand with Sloan petition, the subtitle is Take a Stance Against Cancel Culture. And guess who, folks, back in the summer when the Conservative Party nomination was up for grabs, guess who was the most vociferous in speaking out against cancel culture? It was one Mr. Erin O'Toole. Wow. Didn't take long for those chickens to come home, Sheila? Now, all of a sudden, there's a little bit of pressure from certain mean girls in the media party, certain optics he doesn't like, and he cancels Derek Sloan. Bottom line, look at that. It's
on
time
day
to stop
one.
The defacing and erasing of Canadian history and values. But he doesn't mind erasing a member right out of his caucus. Sheila, I can tell you right now, unless I guess there's several months before the election, there's a lot of speculation it'll be late spring, early summer. Right now, this party has lost my vote, for one. You can try to woo me back. I'm all ears, but this is despicable, as was Erin O'Toole pretending he didn't give an interview to Ezra Levant when we have proof that he does. This is almost making me pine for the glory days of Andrew Scheer. I mean, and that's the thing, doesn't this party learn from its own mistakes of less than a year and a half ago? And Sheila, I really believe, forget about my vote and what I feel, I think they are going to be smoked in the next election, despite all the scandals, despite all the mismanagement of this Trudeau Liberal regime. I think they're going to head to majority territory. I can see maybe, 20, 25 seats being lost by this Conservative Party. And I'll tell you, for those social conservatives right across the country, not just the ones in Derek Sloan's riding, this is a disaster, Sheila.
This was a witch trial. Yeah. They had a predetermined outcome in mind, and all they needed was a reason. They needed a controversy, which was a non-controversy, which, if Derek Sloan is guilty of something, then the party was guilty of it too. But they needed some reason to hold their witch trial, to strap him to the chair and dunk him in the river and see if he drowned. And that's what they did to him. And I think over the coming days and weeks, because it sounds like, at least according to what I heard Derek Sloan say yesterday, he is going to name names. And I think we're going to learn a lot about people we thought we liked that were on the side of the witch trial. And I think we're going to maybe find people that we didn't realize we liked on the side of Derek Sloan the witch. I see conservative insider journalists, give me a break, saying stuff like he was hard to work with. There were other social conservatives who voted him out. I really don't care. I don't care if you can't get along with him. I don't care if he's prickly. We're conservatives. We don't do things in groups. By nature, by our ideology, we generally don't work well in groups with a bunch of other people. It's one of our best qualities, but one of the reasons we keep losing is because the Liberals are pretty good at chanting in unison and we just want to be left alone. I don't care about personality conflicts, none of that stuff. I don't care. The fact I knew something was afoot when instead of reaching out to Sloan voters by giving him a prominent role as a critic, giving him any role as a critic, Aaron O'Toole relegated him to the backbench.
And you know, Sheila, the bottom line is that all of these decisions, of course, are designed for one thing, to get more votes for the Conservatives.
In the GTA.
To win more seats. So, that said, since the Conservatives have kicked out Derek Sloan for what I consider to be a non-crime, he did not know that was Paul Fromm, the notorious bigot, giving that donation. Here's my question. Do you think there's anyone in, say, a downtown Toronto riding who is voting Liberal or is maybe on the fence going, oh, they kicked out Derek Sloan. I'm voting Conservative in the next election. No.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. I bet they can't even contain the laughter at Liberal Party of Canada headquarters over this. They are watching this Conservative Party yet again apply a self-inflicted gunshot wound to themselves even before the writ is dropped.
When you hear words like Justin Trudeau is pleased that they've gotten rid of Sloan, the Conservatives should realize that they've done something wrong because the Conservative base is angry.
Oh, yeah.
At the witch trial. I don't care how they try to spin it. This was a non-issue. You've made it an issue, and you used it to do something dishonest because nobody actually cared about that donation. They used it to hold the witch trial. That's what they did. And so the Conservative base is angry, and Justin Trudeau is happy. And you think that's the right move as the leader of the party? You know what I think was going on here? We're approaching a convention, and Derek Sloan pointed this out. They don't want the prickly blue Tories in there setting policy. And he was signing up members, taking over boards, doing the groundwork, beating the Conservatives on their ground game to make sure that people who care about the issues Sloan cares about, and by, extraction, the people in his riding care about, and the people who voted him for leadership care about. He was making sure that those policy ideas were advanced at the coming convention. And they had to nuke it because they want to take the party in, well, I was going to say another direction, but I think it's just further down the same losing road instead of trying something new. And so they put a stop to it. Derek Sloan isn't the leader of the party, but there are other ways to advance your policy ideas, and that starts organizing on the ground. They're not doing that at the party level in their own ridings. Sloan was doing it in advance of the policy convention in his riding and in other ridings. And they realized we can't beat him at this. So we got to get rid of him. And I think that played a major role in what happened yesterday.
You might be right, but I look at the bigger picture of leadership and the leader, Aaron O'Toole, to be, Sheila, so tone deaf, so weak, so willing to bend the knee to the criticism of the enemy. This guy was a former military man. Could you imagine being under his command going into battle? Forget it. I'm deserting. Okay.
Justin says there's so many super chats. So let's get to them because I think we have 22 minutes left in the show. Anyways, if people want to sign our petition in support of Derek Sloan and against the cancel culture of the Conservative Party of Canada, you can go to standwithsloan.com, I think is the...
Hey.
Yeah, and 70 people have signed it already. So if you wouldn't mind, if you're on the live stream, just open up another window. Don't click out of us. Just open up another window, quickly sign that, and quickly share it. and then go back to watching us. Just leave us on in the background while you do that, because I think we need to send a message to the Conservative Party of Canada. And this isn't even about Sloan. It's about due process. It's about cancel culture. And it's about not using the enemy to destroy your friends, which I think is also what happened here. Let's carry on. Steve in Hallowell, $100. And that's so generous.
Thank you.
And I don't even see a super chat. Thank you very much, Stephen. Appreciate that so much. Have a great day. Marcia Hines, $5. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my favorite. Thank you. Me too. Love you, Sheila and David. Shout out to Justin.
There it goes.
JR Chad's $2 and see a super chat. Lisa Proust. Hi, Lisa. David, thank you for your bravery and passion.
Oh, thank you.
Thomas Bleho, $50. Thomas, wow. Thank you. Very generous. The Menzoid has more courage than all the government leaders combined. Way to be, David. Stay in their faces.
Well,
it's true.
I might be laughing on the outside, my friend, but inside, believe me, I'm crying.
I don't know. I think you're pretty brave, David.
Oh, thank you.
Carolina Canton gives us $10. Also, Mrs. Menzoid is pretty brave because, well, she married you, so she can't have known in entirety what she was getting into. But I'm pretty sure she loves you, and she lets you go out there into these dangerous situations all the time, and she waits patiently for you at home. And I know sometimes she's even out there with you a little bit. And I think you got yourself a brave gal at home.
Do you know we met in a hot tub in 1988 at a fitness
good
club?
Lord.
I'll tell you the rest of that story off camera.
Yeah, talk about bravery. Exactly. Yeah.
Mr. Producer says, how about not?
Yeah, thanks. Carolina Canton gives us $10. Lovely haircut, David. We love you guys from Brampton, Ontario. Please, David and Sheila, find the time to watch The Barrier on Netflix. That's how the future looks with Justin Trudeau and Theresa Tam.
You know what? I'll make a note of that. And please, since you're in Brampton, please find the time to check out some hockey rinks to see if Sneaky Patrick is still violating the protocols and playing hockey with his Barrie buddies.
Yeah. Keen Enmark gives us $5. Sheila, give David a headlock. He's jealous of Kian's. Haha. Shout out to Justin. There we go.
Well, you know, I got to tell you, Kian is a fantastic reporter, a great journalist. He's far more advanced in wisdom than I was at that age. And believe me, it would be not good quality to be jealous of somebody who is talented and working so hard for the company. It's a team effort. You know, I kind of like looking at Sheila, the Seinfeld TV series, which probably one of the best comedies, if not the best of all time. And you know, Jerry Seinfeld, he was so giving, you know, because he was the producer. The show's named after him. But if you look at it, the best comedic lines, the best funny lines went to the other cast members, you know, Kramer, Elaine, George, because there was a realization not to make it about me. And I think it's the same with Ezra here. Like, you know, we get stories that Ezra could fly with, but he realizes that to spread it around, to have, you know, all the, on-camera people deliver. It makes Rebel News better, you know, being the sum of the parts. So the fact that Kian or Drea or Tamara, Sheila, you name it, get great stories and do great work. I couldn't be happier for the team, folks. I really mean it, because it's all about the final product and bringing you top quality. And for me to be jealous about anybody, that would be self-defeating. Well,
and I admire the way Ezra has, you know, like for myself and Tamara and Drea and even Kian, we aren't trained journalists, right? Like he just plucked us from obscurity and said, hey, I think you could be a really good journalist. And to see something in us that we probably wouldn't even imagine seeing in ourselves, I think takes a pretty keen eye. But also, if you look at the team, there's somebody for everybody. Like there's a whole different assortment of conservatives who talk about the things that matter to them that might not be the thing that matters to you, but you'll find somebody on the team that you like, or a couple of us, or all of us even. who is passionate about the issues that you like. I mean, and the younger team, like a lot of our back office team is pretty young.
Oh, yeah.
And Ezra's giving them a chance in front of the camera now, too. And I think that's really great that we're not only like of course, Ezra wants us all to do really great, but he's also like fostering and nurturing this young talent. And I think that's really, I think that shows a lot of foresight, because it shows that we all have confidence that we're going to grow and continue to grow. And we need to have the people to cover the stories that we are going to cover in the future.
And thank God they're young, because they know how to operate all these electronic devices.
Yeah, I've seen you struggle with your phone before. Let's keep going. Lisa Proust, Sheila, I love you. You tackled a Montreal ticket. I've got a bunch of Montreal tickets coming in. And some of them are really like hard to listen to, especially the curfew tickets. Joyful Heart, $5, went to No Frills, 81 person limit. Shoppers Drug Mart, 71. My church, which is bigger than both, well sanitized, 10 people limit. Yeah, isn't that gross? None of it makes any sense.
It's incredible. I mean, how do you we are constantly coming across this kind of, nonsensical regulation, Sheila, and I'm waiting for an explanation as that person said, the church, which is bigger than both of those combined, has a 10 limit, and these two have 71 and 81. I can't explain it. Yeah.
Let's keep going, because again, Justin says we've got a ton, and I've sort of lost my place. Okay, MEC gives us $2. Rioting in Portland and Seattle. Love, Rebel. Thank you. Yeah. I gotta really hand it to the Conservatives. Now, let's remove the riot on the Capitol for a second, because I think that's a standalone one of. Over the 4 years that Trump was in power, you saw the left, starting from the day he won the election and Inauguration Day and going forward, they are not emotionally resilient. They are not good with coping with loss. I mean, we saw people who needed therapy animals, cry rooms, days off work, canceled exams. And I'm not exaggerating.
No, it's true.
These people were basket cases and continued to act out for 4 years. But immediately after Trump won, they acted like lunatics, rioting, burning cities. I mean, when you look at like the BLM protests, I mean, that was just an extension of whatever tantrum they had from election night 4 years before. And if you take the one of event of the Capitol out, I mean, the left is not emotionally well. And they continue to not be emotionally well, even when they win, as you can see in what's happening in Portland and Seattle.
It's incredible. They're poor losers and they're bad winners.
A lot of grace on that side of the aisle, isn't there? Okay, Lisa Proust, $2. Justin, you are so amazingly fast. Thank you. There we go. Vince Axis Geo, $5. Foghorn Leghorn quote, you see, boy, people don't want to hear your opinion. They want to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth. That's so true.
Do you know what? Foghorn Leghorn, let it be known, is my favorite Looney Tunes character. So thank you for that great Foghorn Leghorn quotation.
Okay, will Rebel, Chris Lynch gives us $5. Will Rebel hire field patch experience folks at all? I'm looking, but only have patch experience. You mean oil patch experience? No one seems to hire, oil patch folks outside of the patch. You know what? Send us your resume at careers@rebelnews.com. Let's see what you got. Like I just said, Ezra has hired people with no actual training. So don't think that because you have no experience in the industry that you are immediately excluded from the industry. C182 OPR, $5. Should be ambassador to Israel and Arab-occupied Israel. 100-day prediction, armed conflict in the Middle East. Got to pay off the debt to U.S. arms industry. I'm very concerned about what's going to unfold there. And I'm worried that Iran is going to feel emboldened and see the change in tone with respect to Israel. And I'm very concerned about what's going to spark between those two countries. Lisa Proust, $2. I love you both. Your passion is amazing. Thank you, Lisa. David Subrani, $6.99. Republican or Democrats, two different wings belonging to the same bird. That same bird is going to the same place. Agenda. MEC, $2. Aaron O'Toole is a mean 14-year-old girl. Who knew? John Bedbrook. It's pretty conniving. John Bedbrook, $5. Who the hell can I vote for now? That's the thing. What gives? $10. Don't see a super chat. Marcus Clausen looks like $5. Hugh Prendergast, $13.99. No super chat. Olga Jenny, $5. I wonder how much O'Toole got paid to take a knockout punch for the next election. No other explanation for what he's doing. I have no idea what he thinks he's doing. As David pointed out, this is not going to change hearts and minds in the GTA or Montreal or Vancouver. But you know what? It's going to demoralize your base in Alberta. And while you might not lose seats in Alberta, you might not be able to line that elections war chest with all of our money. And that's for sure.
And Sheila, just a minute ago, you described Aaron O'Toole as pretty conniving. And I don't have an issue with political leaders being pretty conniving. I mean,
sure.
The art of politics.
It's the job.
There's a lot of conniving, but when you connive to lose as opposed to win, that's the issue. I think there is some war room in the Conservative Party headquarters where they think that getting rid of Derek Sloan, that putting the gag order on their members getting interviewed by Rebel News, that these are wins, that there's this mushy middle in Canada that is just waiting to hear that. And as soon as they hear that, they're going to vote Conservative. And I'm telling you guys, whoever you are, you invisible puppet masters in Ottawa, you're wrong. And the proof was in the pudding with the last guy. And you are embracing the same flawed strategy. That, to me, Sheila, that's not pretty conniving. That's the definition of insanity.
You're 100% right. I don't understand who's advising him. And again, I said it on the show on Tuesday. When I hear the word conservative strategist based in Toronto or Ottawa, I hear professional loser. That's what I hear. Because it's just been a series of losses and rapid decline.
Yeah, it's kind of like having the title past captain of the Titanic on your resume.
Yeah. MEC gives us $2. Conservatives taking a dive. Ford, Pallister, O'Toole. Again, I don't know who Doug Ford is listening to, not the people. Pallister. I can't see what the NDP in Manitoba, who were in power for so long, I can't see what they would be doing that's any different than what Pallister is doing. I have no idea. Christina Pavloka. Oh, God. And I understand, the political landscape in Manitoba is weird, right? Yeah. It's like BC, where their Liberal Party is sort of a liberal conservative mix. And so in Manitoba, it's like a liberal conservative mix too. So I can't expect them to be Saskatchewan Party, Alberta UCP style conservatives, but still closing churches, that's insane.
Although you can't really wave the banner for Saskatchewan these days either, eh, Sheila?
No. They've got their own problems. Christina Pavloka, $6.99. Thank you to all at Rebel. Special thanks to Justin and all behind the screen. Please shout out for Justin and others. Beautiful. That was great. Mr. Hammerdance, $2. Looking dapper, David. Sweet shirt, Gunner. Oh, can you see that? I don't know which way. It's the CCFR t-shirt. Great t-shirts. By the way, if you guys want one of these, and it's hard to find a really good conservative-y ladies t-shirt that's not just a small version of a men's shirt, which is usually how it ends up being. This is it's from the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights. They have their online store, and you can find a ton of really great stuff there. Let's keep going. And, you help them fund their legal challenge to stay the gun grab. So I would recommend that you help them out. And I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just saying. Lisa Bruce, $2. In Ontario, 9 movies being filmed. What lockdown? Exactly.
Yeah, and it's funny. I heard from a journalistic friend of ours in the mainstream media, Sheila, who was doing a story on one of the movies being shot in Toronto. And evidently, I don't think this made the story, but he was told that a lot of these workers are being tested up to 3 times per day. And
my goodness.
And there's guys walking around the set with nosebleeds because of that bloody test. Again, do you feel safer, Sheila?
No, that's gross. That's gross.
It is gross.
It's gross. I think it's abusive, but they still found a way to open up the stores for make-believe shopping and the restaurants for make-believe eating, but you can't actually go and eat and shop.
Oh, didn't you hear? The
crazy.
Wuhan virus is a big movie fan. I think it's a member of the Academy, actually, Sheila.
Right, exactly. Jim Rat gives us $2. New censorship law must be opposed. Yeah, it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
News Now Canada Independent Media, $5. News Now Canada Independent Media, another $5. It's Donald. I'm wondering if David is coming to Dundas Square this weekend. I'm hearing mass arrests on Saturday.
Not only am I coming, my friend, we have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 cameramen. They are going back there. If law enforcement and John Tory thought this was their Adamson barbecue bend the knee moment last Saturday, they are quite mistaken. Those people are coming back, and I got tipped off about one of the strategies they're using. I'm not going to say what it is right now, folks. Don't want to tip the hand to law enforcement. So I'll be there, and 5 cameramen will be there, because CBC, CTV, Global, and all the rest, they won't bother because they support a clampdown on freedom of speech. How do you like that? Members of the press actually agreeing with censorship and shutting down a truly peaceful protest. I can't believe the world in which we live today, Sheila.
They threatened to arrest our journalists. They put their hands on Mocha. And you know what? All that does is embolden us. We're coming back. When you tell us we can't do something, We're going to do it twice as much. We're going to do it with an extra person. This is ridiculous. However, that again, we don't hear a peep from the mainstream media. Look, if you don't want to cover the protest, that's fine. Don't. It gives us job security. I'm fine with that. But if you can't speak up when journalists are being threatened with arrest, you have no business calling yourself a journalist, because you don't understand the rights and freedoms that enable you to have the job that you have. You don't get it.
Yeah.
Ergen Adai gives us $5. I phoned my MP about this vote against Derek Sloan. May I suggest everyone on this platform call your MP and tell them what you really think. That's a great idea.
And while you have them on the phone, say, how come you're not giving interviews to Rebel News? I just want to hear how they're spinning that. But meanwhile, whatever press progress that Broadband Institute Front has to say, they'll bend the knee to. Again, Sheila, the world's upside down.
They could not have leaked that donation to us because we would have been like, yeah, so. So they had to find somebody who had a real bone to pick with the entire Conservative Party, and they were willing to damage the entire brand to get rid of Derek Sloan.
Oh.
Which makes Derek Sloan a pretty important and pretty dangerous guy when you think of it.
Well, remember I was saying what question I would ask a while back. I think my second question, my follow-up question to Aaron O'Toole is, who do you foresee as being the leader of the Conservative Party in 2022? Because I think he's one and done, Sheila.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, people were hoping for something different. He promised something different, something bolder and unafraid. And we're getting sheer on warp speed. Let's keep going.
Geez. How scary
it's true. Julius Caesar gives us $5 in a super chat. John Bedbrook, $2. Where does Michelle Rempel stand on Derek Sloan? I think Derek Sloan's going to tell us over the coming days. I think he's going to name names. So, like I said, I think we're going to find out that we dislike a lot of people we thought we liked, and we're going to like a lot of people that we didn't think would be speaking up for free speech. Space Dave 2000, $2. Is the Conservative Party dead? I don't know. I guess that's up to Aaron O'Toole and how long he hangs on to power, because he's going to kill it.
Well, you prophesied, Sheila, that we might see what happened in Alberta when the Progressive Conservative Party there, they had to burn itself to the ground and reemerge as the UPC. I think that's one alternative. The second alternative is, as was proven in Ontario in 2018, folks, I'll never forget, late January 2018, heading into a June election, the palace coup against sneaky Patrick Brown, who was online to being premier, and he would have been premier. I have no doubt about that. Maybe less of a majority than Doug Ford got. But in that short amount of time, the Progressive Conservatives here in Ontario proved you can do a leadership switch within months of an election and still come out as gangbusters. I think that's my hope. I don't think it's really going to happen. So I think your scenario, Sheila, that's what we have to hope for. How sad, eh?
I mean, but it deserves it. The party deserves being burnt to the ground to start again. Mike 519, $50. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What happened to our government? Who is running the show there? I'm just lost for words. And CBC. Wow. Yeah. Jarrell Sandyke gives us $5. Aaron O'Toole would make a great boxer. How much did he make on that dive?
Oh, beautiful.
Sherwin Mapp gives us $5. It's a pear emoji lying on the side, raising his arm, saying, how's it going? Well, pretty good. Hugh Pendergrast gives us $5. My opinion of O'Toole has gone from 0 to minus 100. I will not donate again until he's gone or by some miracle grabs a brain. I think the base is very unhappy with him. Even if you didn't like Derek Sloan, you don't like how this was handled. Christina Pabloka gives us $6.99. How about flying school at Oshawa's airport? Are they essential while our children and grandchildren are not and have to learn online? I wonder if there's Chinese nationals there, so it's worth everybody's time to keep it open. Kane Enmark, $2. David and Mocha, be careful on Saturday. Yes. Keep your hands off Mocha, coppers. MEW gives us $5. In no time, the Liberal Party of Canada fooled O'Toole into falling on his sword using Liberal term white supremacist, which invokes hate on anyone white and not supporting the left. I don't know. I've seen them use the term white supremacist to describe my friend Prem Singh, who is very obviously not a white lady, but a brown lady. But I've seen them use it to describe anybody who disagrees with the left. The term means absolutely nothing these days. And that's a real shame, because there are some of those people out there who need to be accurately described by that term. But now it's the catch-all for just conservatives who don't like Justin Trudeau. And I don't think O'Toole was fooled by the Liberals. I think this was orchestrated by O'Toole just to get rid of prickly Derek Sloan.
Well, that makes it even worse then, Sheila.
Yeah. And Justin Trudeau is so pleased. He's so pleased. JR Chad's $5. My wife works in a long-term care home, and 17 people died since getting the vaccine. Not one of them had COVID. I'd love to see the statistics on that, of how many people died from the vaccine, with something else, of old age, of a comorbidity, whatever. People end up in long-term care facilities because they're in compromised health, generally speaking. So who knows? But I do know Andrew has a story coming out about some vaccine deaths that happened in Norway, and that is like an indisputable fact that happened.
If that is true, that is a shocking statistic. And if I can ask the viewer to kindly forward some details, and if you want to remain anonymous, we'll respect that, to our tips line, because that's worth investigating. That's a hell of a statistic, Sheila.
Yeah, and we are 3 minutes over and all caught up, I think. Right, Justin?
Well, there you go.
Yes.
And no last minute super chat. And you know what? We covered every topic except the Trudeau maybe Christmas flight to the Caribbean. You can go on the website or the YouTube channel to watch that in all its glory, folks. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Justin behind the board. Of course, thank you to the She-Devil. One more super chat. He always does this to me.
I don't see it yet, Justin. There it is. What gives us $5. Can you guys cover Ontario MPP Randy Hillier a bit more? Would be interesting to see him replace Ford. We do cover Randy when he does something interesting. Now, we aren't Randy's press secretaries, though. You got to remember that. But when Randy does something newsworthy, we do our best to be there. But we're not in the bag for any politician, even Randy Hillier and his beautiful suspenders.
And I think Randy Hillier is a great guy. I've covered him a couple of times last year. He's accessible. He returns our calls. If he has anything to say, anything that's newsworthy, 100% we will cover what Randy Hillier wants to get off his chest. In any event, folks, on the behalf of Sheila Gunn-Reid in Northern Alberta and myself, David Menzies, here in the Toronto headquarters of Rebel News, thank you so much for tuning in. Special thank you to all the Super Chatters. Sheila and I will see you again on Tuesday. Ezra's here in this chair at 12 tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay sane.